All right, let's get into running backs. We're gonna have to fly here. We do have a couple video chats that are waiting patiently when you got a big mailbag. So let's get into running backs. Raheem Mostert at Buffalo. This is the current running back 1 scoring.
Yeah.
You've got him as your running back 8, which is 4 higher than the experts. Yeah, I mean, and then you also got Devon Achane also in there. You don't have rankings next to him, but you're higher on him than everybody else. I mean, I wonder if you're even low on Mostert. I mean, the guy keeps producing every single week, so I don't know. Do you think the addition of Achane is going to like hurt him? I don't know.
No, not necessarily. He's still going to be the lead here. And if you're going to beat the Bills, it's certainly on the ground. Definitely one more of those pass funnels here. We saw them giving up some huge explosive plays to Breece Hall, and that's why you start Mostert is for big explosive plays. They got game flowed out Jacobs and B-Rob, so the last couple of weeks, only 7 points allowed to the lead running back on teams. But I don't think you can get game flowed out when you're the Miami Dolphins. In fact, I think you dictate the pace here, even against Buffalo. So in a game where points are just going to be going back and forth, in my opinion, I think the over-under, 54 on this game right now? Why not take the lead back in this offense? And why not take his backup, who I think they're going to get more looks for them both on the field together. Achane, maybe mixing in the slot receiver spot. You know you'll have Waddle and Hill, and then maybe the third receiver becomes Devon Achane here. Either way, you're going to need your explosive pieces to show up against Buffalo, to keep pace with them. And I absolutely think Mostert, who's done nothing but thrive in this lead back role, like you said, the running back 1 in fantasy, but getting ranked outside the top 12 right now, you got to have Raheem Mostert in your lineup, and you probably do even as a top 12 guy. But I also want to highlight that Devon Achane, top 20 running back play as well. When points are at a premium, you want your playmakers getting the rock, and I think that's going to just be back and forth, tons of plays run. I'm a huge fan of this game, and I want both these backs in my lineup.
2 guys you're lower on. Ramondre Stevenson, who's been a real disappointment so far this year. He's playing at Dallas. Got him at RB26. Yeah, I wanted him in my auction. Got outbid. Now I'm glad I did. You're actually 9 lower than the experts who have them all the way up at 17, which seems a little bit high. Also, we mentioned Dameon Pierce earlier, so if you want to just touch on that, you're also lower on him. You got him at 34. The experts like him at 28.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Ramondre Stevenson, whose workload continues to trend in the wrong direction. Now, this might be the right game flow for him, given that it is against the Cowboys. I expect them to be up. I expect the Patriots to then have to be chucking it, and that typically favors Ramondre Stevenson. But even though he's running the majority of the routes here, only 12%, 7%, and 12% share of the targets, 10% on the season, he was right around 15 to 20% most weeks last year, and that's a huge dent on him. He just doesn't look as overly explosive. A Pats fan, every game, it doesn't look like Ramondre of last year. He's getting stuffed more often. He seems to be dancing more. Maybe I'm missing something, but with only 49% of the rushes, there's a 10% target share. And that, again, lack of running back receiving usage is kind of consistent with Bill O'Brien, dating back to Lamar Miller and all the running backs he had over there in Houston. Very rarely did any of them cross it, even 7% target share threshold. Plus, you got Zeke facing his old team. That seemed like a Belichick thing to do, is try to force feed Zeke at the goal line, who already has been that lead red zone back. Inside the 5 carries are certainly favoring Zeke right now. I imagine Belichick will try to get him a touchdown over Ramondre in this game. Only 12, 14, and then 7 points last week. 40, again, less rush share than Zeke last week as well. It definitely scares me, definitely sketchy. And the matchup's difficult as is as well. Running backs have really against Dallas, other than James Conner-God last week. So ultimately, I do not want to play Ramondre, and I certainly don't want to play Dameon Pierce, somehow getting ranked as a fringe starter by the experts. He got bailed out by that Dell getting tackled at the 1-yard line. Does not look similar to Ramondre, just doesn't look as explosive in that tackle-breaking machine we saw last year. He had the perfect script last week to go out there and thrive. They were up by 17 at halftime, and yet he still only played about 50% of the snaps, still only saw a mediocre workload when he should have been getting leading the clock. They remain so pass happy, 4th most attempts for CJ Stroud, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, much more of a pass funnel, very vulnerable in the secondary. I imagine this game will continue to flow through the arm of CJ Stroud, through the explosiveness of Tank Dell, and not Dameon Pierce. So I have no interest in playing him. If you can somehow sell him, I know it's probably tough to do. Nobody really wants Dameon Pierce, you'd think. But I also know many people in leagues are not using their IR spot. Like, casual leagues are much more boneheaded. So maybe you can sell this guy off his big week. Either way, I don't want him in my lineup at all.
Wolf, exit your video and come back. I will do Hail Mary. You're doing a lot of breaking up.
Sorry. I will be back. I will refresh it.
Cool. 2 things. Giuseppe, I see your super chat. After we do Hail Mary, here before we get into running backs. We'll hit your question, I promise. Thank you for the super chat in advance before we even answer it. We're going to get into Hail Mary. Sometimes these I don't feel like I can answer as competently as the Wolf. This one I actually feel like I can. It's Tyjae Spears going against the Bengals. The reason is actually because I wrote a quick piece for RSJ this past week about him having some fantasy upside and all that. So he's one of the guys that I feel like I can riff on a tiny bit. Basically, if we look at the snap count, and I mean, without the snap count being taken into account, what is there? You can't score fantasy points if you're not on the field. Derrick Henry was off the field quite a bit last week. Tyjae Spears was actually on the field quite a lot more. Now, he didn't produce a ton in that amount of time, but the fact is he was on the field 27 snaps to Henry's 17, and that's extremely significant. Going against the Bengals this week, if you're looking for a Hail Mary, you think, man, maybe Henry's on the decline, which I seriously hope is not true because I'm a Henry owner and all that stuff. That's why Tyjae Spears might be worth a Hail Mary in this situation. If all of a sudden the snap count or the game flow starts trending towards him, you could do a lot worse than having a guy that's on the field the whole time, which Henry was not, unfortunately, last week. Wolf, welcome back. I figured I could talk about Spears since I wrote that piece on RSJ.
Absolutely.
Felt pretty informed.
You nailed it. 2 weeks of the 3 weeks so far have favored him. Game flow against the Bengals should favor him as well. So, yeah, I'm all about Tyjae Spears. If you're desperate, when I take these Hail Marys too, I kind of like the guys that, maybe they break a long one and can get you some points, but also you're playing the long game here. Spears should be on your roster. Only 24% rostered right now. One of the best handcuffs you can ask for in fantasy, plus a guy you might be able to plug in there. So, yeah, big fan here of Tyjae Spears as a desperation Hail Mary.
All right, we got to get into running backs or to wide receivers. We're already up almost to 745. Real quick, Giuseppe did have a super chat. You trade Jacobs for Gibbs, PPR. Also, rest of the season, who do you like more, George Kittle or Laporta?
I'm definitely not trading Jacobs for Gibbs. I'd rather have Jacobs. I know he's underwhelmed, but his schedule gets very, very soft these next 4 weeks, and the usage has been as good as we've ever seen. Even last year, he's seeing more receiving work than the year he was the running back 3. It's only a matter of time. We've seen this before where they hold out and they start slow. I definitely think Jacobs is the prime guy to trade for right now. So I would rather have Jacobs in that deal. And Kittle versus Laporta is very, very tricky. In all honesty, I do think Laporta might be a steadier guy. The only rookie tight end in NFL history to have 5 or more receptions in his first 3 games. And obviously last week, seeing that on 11 targets, 8 catches, over 100 yards and a score. Huge fan of Laporta. And as much as I love Kittle, he's got so many more mouths to feed, whereas Laporta is the clear-cut number 2 passing game weapon in this game right now. So I'm going Laporta actually rest of the season over Kittle.
All right, we're going to hit wide receivers. I'm just going to tee these up for you real fast and fly through them. Wide receiver, the Wolves actually got 3 guys he's higher on. Tank Dell against Pittsburgh. He likes him at 26. The experts have him all the way down at 34. He also likes Gabe Davis going against Miami. He likes him at 28. Experts all the way down at 37. DJ Moore playing against that potentially cushy Denver matchup that we talked about. Wolf likes him at 31, 8 spots higher than the experts at 39. Go ahead, Wolf.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks, Tank Dell leading this team in targets, second on the team in routes, 17 and 23, half PPR points, wide receiver 19 and 6. And as we've alluded to, could have had 2 touchdown days in both of them. An absolute monster, absolute playmaker that CJ Stroud has the most beautiful rapport with. Demanded that this team trade for him, trade up to go get him. They do it, and it's looking like a dominant connection. I will not bench Tank Dell at this point, playing him over Garrett Wilson in the league. That's one of the tweets that got such big interaction earlier today. Gabe Davis, meanwhile, back-to-back weeks with touchdowns. I know the touchdown was the only catch he had last week, but looking just so much more explosive now that he doesn't have that high ankle sprain. And in a game like we've talked about, points will be at a premium, shootout-style narrative. That's where you often see Gabe Davis. You think about the big playoff explosions. This has that playoff feel to it. So Big Daddy Davis, I think, comes through for you. At least one more big bomb touchdown and maybe even more consistent, steady work for him. So huge fan of Gabe Davis, not touching my benches. And as you alluded to as well, DJ Moore, a great tackle breaker, excellent after the catch. What do the Denver Broncos do? The worst in the league right now is tackle. We saw how many times did Achane get a quick hit and then just rip a screen. And the Bears suck. They're horrendous. But one thing they do okay at is the screen game. And we saw DJ Moore ripping up the preseason with those screens. I think we will get at least one of those really well-designed linemen get in space, and DJ Moore just kind of nice through this defense for a long score. And I think that game does, as much as I'm down on Justin Fields, it does have sneaky shootout potential there. At minimum, DJ Moore, I know it's been gross, but he has actually been getting it done in fantasy. He's scored in back-to-back weeks. And I think you can trust him in one of the best matchups you could possibly ask for.
What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.